Hi, I'm Kathy O'Keefe. I'm here at Cornell Cooperative Extension in their commercial kitchen because we came together and we decided as a group that we were going to try to teach our home preserving in our own little YouTube channel called Preservation Pantry. And my goal in doing this is to help stretch your household budget through traditional ways of homesteading that can be used every day. Being a single working mom for most of my life, it kind of taught me to stretch my budget in many ways. And this was just one way, because I was a single mom with 2 kids. So, you want to buy those big packs of chicken, you want to buy it because they're cheaper. So what I needed to do is figure out how to properly freeze them, how can I preserve them so that I could get more than one meal. So we are going to talk a lot about meal planning and purchasing by bulk. Hopefully we'll get out to some farmers markets. And we have some really great master gardeners here at Cornell, so we're going to connect with them and maybe take you out in the hoop, a greenhouse. So we're really excited about doing this with you. What drove me back to the skills handed down from my grandma and my mom of canning and freezing was a concern over kind of the health issues that we see today with my friends and my family as we've started to age. There's been a lot of different things that have been brought to light, and that brought me back to preserving and canning because I knew what was going into the foods that I was putting into these jars. I really feel like if you have health issues, doing fermentation and having control over what's being put into your body is the best source of trying to track down what's really going on. I feel personally that a lot of what we go through goes through our gut, and having the right probiotics in there to just keep everything moving and keep us going. Through all of the things that I've discovered through the different classes and courses I've taken, I also learned ways of healing through having a home apothecary, to upcycling old and making new, making a silk purse out of a sow's ear like my mom says. So I've found a lot of budget-friendly ways to resource goods that someone might be getting rid of and I can make good use of. So hopefully we'll touch on all these subjects and have a really good time. Mainly here in the kitchen, we're going to be focusing on sustainability, healthy comforts, and how to have a shelf-friendly or shelf-stable pantry, which can include your herbs, your medicinal herbs, potions and lotions, and also our foods products. This is the CCE kitchen, and it is a commercial kitchen set up to help as a Western New York food incubator. So those of you that have a family recipe that you think, wow, if I could get this on the shelves in a grocery store, well, here is your spot to start. At CCE, you can rent the commercial kitchen, and you can also get the input and the guidance that you need. We will hopefully be having Amanda Henning and Jen Reagan in to discuss different topics on how to get your foods made, processed, labeled, and put in your licensing for the state, because you can't just make something and sell it. It really, there's a whole step-by-step process, but we hope to help you with that as well. I started with Cornell Cooperative Extension when I was raising my kids, and like most of you, you've come to the fair and you know the animal husbandry programs. Those are the really most popular, I would say. That I was into the horses, so we had a 4-H show.
actually, we did have a 4-H show called Counting Clovers with my equine program that I was involved in. But there's so much more to Cornell Cooperative Extension. It's not just for farm families, it's for all families. There's so many resources. There's classes and there's guidance on so many things. Farming, you name it, they can help you out. As we do more hands-on shows, I will introduce to you the ins and outs of the commercial kitchen. We have baking, we have our commercial stove over here. The biggest thing when you're working in an area like this is to try to keep your space neat and organized and clean and friendly. That's helpful so that you don't spread any bacterias that you don't want in your food, because you want your food safe. Food safety is first. I would also like to make sure that you know ahead of time what courses are available. So in May, they're starting a Master Food Preservation course. It's going to be on Thursday nights. So that's the first one in a nighttime that they've had. So if you've had a struggle getting in because it used to be a 3-day class all day long, this is the one. So get hold of Jen or Amanda for that. If you're wondering what kind of topics we're going to cover, while I talk a little bit, we're going to do sauerkraut. Because fermentation is actually my jam. I actually really like that the best. And I love sauerkraut. So real quickly, while we're talking, I'm going to continue dicing up my cabbage. And we're going to put a little bit of kosher salt in there with that. I have here, you're going to have 3 pounds of cabbage, which is about 1 medium head. I have it all diced up and sliced up. And when you add the salt to it, it's going to create a brine. So it takes a lot of squeezing. So I'm going to start that while we go through these next few topics. We're going to go through the topics that we're going to be covering on this show. But just so I have you up to speed, I'm dicing all of the cabbage for sauerkraut very fine and thinly. Okay, you can see that in there. And you can use a mandolin if you like. I just like to use my knife. And that's just kind of how I roll. I kind of just go around the quarter or the core and just real quickly go down and boom, 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 I have it done. I have used really nice big mandolins, like wooden ones. Friends of mine have a really nice one. We were doing a ton of sauerkraut though, and we were doing kimchi. So we had a lot to do. If you're doing a lot, it probably is best to do the mandolin. But for this, I don't mind. I kind of like using my knife. Make sure that you take off the outside of your cabbage and keep that as a reserve. And I'll show you why later. But we have that set aside. We're going to real quickly chop the rest of this up and get some salt in there so that I start making the brine, because that takes a little bit of time. And that way, while we're discussing things, we're moving along with the recipe. All the recipes are going to be posted on our Facebook page. Please follow us on Preservation Pantry and on the YouTube channel as well. I really like cabbage. I don't know about you guys, but I love it. Even raw, it's so good. It's like a treat. But that's me. I'm going to use kosher salt. For all my canning, I use kosher salt. You can use pickling salt as well. So I have 3 pounds of this. It's about a medium-sized head. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of salt in here. The hood fan is like blowing the salt around. That's fun. Easy peasy. And while we talk, I am going to start working this sauerkraut. Our show is all about getting started, and I'm going to get you started on your sauerkraut because that needs to sit for a few weeks and ferment. We're going to talk about sourdough starter, sourdough bread starter. We're going to get that started. And we're going to get started a ginger bug, which is really, really something fun that you can do with your kids. Because what you can do with a ginger bug, once it ferments, is you use like a cup of it in with your favorite natural organic juice. Moms out there. And you can make a homemade soda of your choice. So it's really fun. You'll really like that. But you can see I'm just squeezing and squeezing this. And that's why I wanted to get it started while we talk so we could keep the show moving. So what topics will we cover? Well, to get your journey started on healthy eating, or in a fraction of the cost, we're going to start with the basics of food safety, proper equipment. We're going to walk you through steps of preserving. We're going to share recipes. We're also going to be finding the best bulk buys and how to split them up and preserve them safely so you don't lose. You know how you put that chicken in the back of the freezer and you get freezer burn? Well, I want to help you minimize that as much as possible. Number one, by dating, but number two, by extra wrapping. That processes that I learned at the restaurant, actually. But the shortcuts and tricks of the trade from master preservers. We're going to have other master food preservers, other master gardeners that from the Master Gardener program. We're going to have local farmers and chefs in too to help you come up with new recipes. So that's what we're looking forward to. When we decided to do this, we sat down, we talked about, hey, what could we do to talk about the commercial kitchen? And I have the water bath going right now because I'm doing some applesauce while we're talking as well. So to get healthier options and stretch your budget and gain knowledge on the best practices of preservation to pass down to your family and your friends, stay right here on Preservation Pantry. We'll be right back. I'm making brine.
Our number one thing, food safety. And all this stuff that we do, we want to make sure that our cans, our lids, our food, it's all clean and safe. And we really want to talk about the different means of processing, because there are some things that you process that need to be done in a pressure canner as opposed to a water bath canner. So we're going to go over all of those. Our goal in preserving is to minimize waste and nutrient loss by making sure that we have no spoilage or improper storage, and you know which process will help you accomplish that. You can see this. Look at all the brine coming out of that. And that's just from salt in your sauerkraut. This is organic cabbage that I chopped up and I cored and sliced. I find that you get a little bit better quality unless you're going to a local farmer. If you have to go in a grocery store, I would stick to organic, if at all possible. It's not a must-do thing. One thing we will also go over is labeling your home preserves so that you know the dates, the importance of hand washing, surface cleaning, and how to avoid cross-contamination, and sterilizing your equipment, watching for spoilage, and how to recognize mold. That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be like science gone crazy. We're going to grow some molds and show you what they look like. And then that'll be a really fun one. That one you might want to bring the kids in on, because you never know, mold is fun. Okay, water bath canning is probably the most well-known. I think most of us have had homemade jam at some point. My favorite canned food as a child was, let me see, my mom's pickles and peaches, but my mom did freezer jam. She didn't can her jam, which the freezer jam is really yummy. So you just keep squeezing this so you get lots of brine. I'm just going to keep talking and brining. With the water bath canning, we will be using a standard canner we all grew up with. It holds about 7 quart jars and 8 to 9 pints. It has a wire jar rack in which it spaces the jars out equally around the canner, and it is easy to lift in and out. Tip, check the bottom of your canners for ridges for gas and a smooth bottom for electric. Also, do not use a water bath canner on ceramic stove tops. They can crack, so you don't want to take that risk. Water bath is a low temperature method that uses time and temperature to create a vacuum seal and destroy mold and yeast and enzymes that cause spoilage. I have our water bath canner is actually on right now. We're doing some applesauce, so I'm going to probably stop and check that shortly. What foods are best for this type of canning, you ask? Well, let's explore the options. Water bath is best for high acid foods such as fruits, pickles, jams, tomatoes, whole or sauces, vinegars, condiments. With tomatoes, you do have to add a little bit of citrus acid. It's really simple. You can also use lemon juice. Other supplies you will need are right-sized canning jars, lids, rings, labels, a jar lifter, funnel, ladle, jar wrench. Some of these I have out here for you to take a look at. Some of the different jars that I use. This is your largemouth jar, and I use that a lot with this bubbler for fermenting. I'm going to show you that with the sauerkraut. This is a smallmouth pint. This pint, you will usually do jellies. I did diced tomatoes in them. Some of the different tops is this top here you can get to fit the largemouth with the bubbler. You can also get this that lets it burp when you're fermenting. So there's a lot of fun things that you're going to learn about. Jar sizing, we have all the way up to our large one that we use for fermenting kombucha. We brew it, then we do a second ferment in this one so that we can just pour it off. We use this one for like ginger bug mixes. You can use this for oils and vinegars as well. The other thing that you're going to learn about is dehydrating. So when you do take the peels off of your tomatoes, you can dehydrate them. You can dehydrate for leathers, fruit leathers for the kids so that you know there's no preservatives in there. So this is a really nice, fun thing to have. You can do jerkies in it. I love it. For freezing, I do want to give you this tip, okay? I found these when doing baby food portions, when I want a natural baby food. The nice thing about it is it portions it all out, puts it all right in here, and I can keep it in my freezer. I also not only use this cover, but I also put a layer of plastic wrap down in there before I freeze it to make sure it doesn't get any top crystallization. And then this one, we're going to learn together because I just bought this for you guys. This is a vacuum sealer. So we're going to play with that together. We're going to learn that together. The other monster is the pressure canner. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. These are all the different supplies. This set here was a great set I picked up. It was only $18. This has all your tools that you're gonna need over time, your can lifter, and it was really a great little set. So I do suggest investing in that. One of the things we are gonna do here at CCE is we're gonna start a lending library for canning. So that you can come in and sign out different things. So we're going to try and get that up and running for you. Other supplies that you might find helpful, a funnel makes it a lot easier. It is recommended to use jars for canning due to the actual real canning jars, like from Bell or any of the other mason jars that are real canning, just because of the thickness of the glass. Sometimes if you reuse jars that you've gotten, like mayonnaise jars and stuff like that, it may not be safe. So that's why I feel like the canning cupboard is going to be a good resource for you. For people that are getting out of canning, they can donate them here and we'll have them for you. Lids, I use the ball lids because I'm just comfortable with ball. But you'll see, this is the ring, this is the lid. You want to make sure that this seal is all intact, clean, and not bumped or anything. And reuse your lids. You can reuse your rings as long as when you take them off to store them, you make sure they're nice and dry and you put them in a dry, safe place so they don't get rusty. If your ring is rusty, dented, or anything, do not reuse it. And do not reuse your lids. You can use them on dry products if you want to store some dry products around the house. But I'm going to take a quick break here and I'm going to check our water bath canner.
So you know our water bath method, of course. This is a pressure canner. And the boogie monster of canning. Everybody has old wives' tales about these things blowing up on them and everything. It gives you a sealed lock. This is the little valve that you watch and the steam comes out of. The main thing you want to make sure is that you have your basin, the pressure canner, so that your jars are not hitting on the bottom of the pressure canner. So you put that in there, you put your water in there, you put your jars in there, and then you make sure it has a tight seal. We are going to get more into this. Why? Why use that? Well, because this allows you to do low acid foods. So you can do soups, you can do meats, and that way, if you walk into your pantry, okay, our goal should be that you can literally walk in there and pick out a meat, a protein, a veggie, and make a meal. That's our goal. So you do want to know how to use a canner and use it safely. This is a smaller one. This is just for pints. And I'm single and I live by myself, so I don't really have to do big amounts of food. So this, for me, to be able to do some pints is really great. Low acid foods include meat, fish, poultry, veggies, not tomatoes, soups, and stews. A pressure cooker really helps when you have limited freezer space and you have an avid hunter or fisherman in your family. It really helps with that. Canning fresh venison and fish is an easy way to have them with shelf-stable protein. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a tongue twister. Another advantage is for quick meals that you have all ingredients right at your hand in your pantry to throw together that quick stew or soup or sauces or veggies. With the pressure canner, you can do them intact. You can make them, but you can also do them individually because you might not always want all of the ingredients every time. So I have our sauerkraut ready here. It's got all kinds of brine. So I'm going to start getting this into I'm going to use this one. Actually, I'm going to use this one because I need the bubbler anyway. Ta-da! Okay. So while we speak, I'm going to be stuffing this jar with our sauerkraut. I want you to take a look at how much brine this actually makes, though. If you can see that down in there, there is a well of brine, and that's what you want to see once you're squeezing it. So while I'm stuffing this, we're going to talk about freezing. We talked a little bit about our vacuum sealer. I mean, I think if we're all honest, we've all gone to the back of the freezer and we found chicken legs shoved in there that were just, we had one left over or two left over and we didn't throw it in the recipe and it's all freezer burn. What we don't want to do is we don't want to constantly be losing food because that, it doesn't help our budget, right? Exactly. So if you don't have a freezer, you have to kind of weigh that in the cost of freezing as well. So if you have to invest in a freezer, it might not be the best way for you to move forward, but at least it will be with your leftovers. It'll give you options with your leftovers. I'm just going to push this down tightly into here. If you have access to a freezer, that's where your labeling comes in, and rotating a freezer. A lot of people don't know how to do that. When you add more stuff in, you got to rotate everything. So we're going to remind you about that. The thing with freezing is it doesn't improve the quality of the food. It does not kill microorganisms, and it can reduce 10 to 20% of the water soluble vitamins as well. So it's not your preferred way to preserve, but when you have that leftovers and stuff like that, everybody throws them in there. But I want you to be able to pull them out and use them instead of just tossing them. So we will cover different ways to package it and how to thaw them using different bags, wraps, vacuum sealing, and things like that. So the other thing we're going to talk about, I talked a little bit about it, is you're just going to top it off with your brine. Get it nice in there. I overfilled that. I'm going to take a little bit out because you want to still make sure that you have like 1 inch of headspace in there. What I use is, this is a glass weight, and I put this in there to keep my food under the brine. As long as it's under the brine, everything is fine, okay? Nothing's going to grow. I have still a little bit too much in there. I mean, a lot of brine with that. And you can add things like, if you want to add dill weed into it, caraway seed, you can do all of that. You can do that right into your sauerkraut. I'm going to wipe the top, and this is where our bubbler comes in handy. Okay? What this does is it allows your sauerkraut to breathe. If you don't have a bubbler, you can also put your regular canning top on, but you have to remember to burp it, allowing the air to come out, okay? So there you go. There is your first thing of sauerkraut. Oh, this is what I forgot. Oh, forgot to put this in here. So with the dehydrating, this allows you to stabilize meats and proteins. It also allows you to make those really nice, healthy leathers for your kids. On the top of your sauerkraut, you want to use your reserve leaf just to make sure it stays under there. Then your weight, push it down. I'm going to take a little bit more off. There we go. And we're going to put our bubbler on there. And you can pull your bubbler up higher. It doesn't have to be right on top of the weight. There we go. When you take this off, it comes with a little blue stopper. You just pop that in there and you can throw it right in the fridge. This is going to sit and ferment for 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the warmth of your house. You want to keep it stable at 65, 75. We are going to, with the dehydrating, we're going to really get into the fruit leathers because I know that the kids use them a lot, but we're also going to do medicinal herbs and different things like that. We're going to give you a few concoctions that you can use for those middle of the night ailments when you don't have access to medication or a doctor. So it'll at least get you through the night. I'm going to take another bite. And we're going to move right along. We'll get deeper into dehydrating when we do that. Fermentation and pickling. So, like I said, fermentation with the sauerkraut is one of my favorites. The other thing I like to do is a ginger bug. And I like to do a ginger bug because it's fun to do with kids. So I'm going to get you a ginger bug started real quickly here. We're going to take a cup of water, throw it in your jar. Okay. We're going to take a cup of pure cane sugar. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 cups of water. I messed up. 2 cups of water. 2 cups of water. Here we go. Good thing I checked that. And 1 tablespoon of pure cane sugar. And then we're going to do a tablespoon of your ginger. So this is your ginger. I've already cleaned mine. Like to take the skin off real quickly, but I don't take it off in time actually throwing it in there because ginger gets funky. So I only skin just what I have to use. And then I leave it. Leave it right on there. You only need a tablespoon of this, and we want to cut into like 1/8 inch pieces. Try and keep them thin, light, and like I said, about 1/8 inch is good. A little bit more. And we're going to stir this and we're going to set this aside to ferment for 1 week. But the thing with this is you have to feed it every day. So you need to add additional sugar. The main thing, because that is what the ginger bug feeds off of, is the sugar. So each day you're going to cut a little bit of this up and add it to your bug. And keep it lively and perky and bubbly. Okay, there it is. And again, this needs to, anything that you're going to ferment needs to be at about 65 to 75 degrees in temperature. Then give this a little swirl. We're going to cover it with our tea cloths. I use this. And then I put a rubber band around it. I like to use this because it keeps light from hitting it. You don't want to set these in the light. To feed your bug, you can feed it for 1 week, and you'll need a total of 1/4 cup of chopped ginger and a 1/4 cup of raw cane sugar. You don't want to overfeed it. So feed 2 teaspoons of ginger and sugar daily. 2 teaspoons. So there's our other ferment. That's what we have next. We have one more next, and then you guys are off and running. You want to keep this for 4 to 7 days until you have a nice healthy culture. You'll know that by the bubbles. It'll bubble up and everything. You can take a cup of it off, and then you're going to restart it. You're going to add to it, and then you can toss out the old ginger too and restart. But then you can make like sarsaparilla, elderberry juice, or like a ginger ale. And it's so much fun for kids. It teaches them the kind of science to fermenting. Store your bug, refrigerate it after 1 week, after it's gotten fizzy and everything. And then you only have to feed it once a week after that first initial week. So there's your ginger bug. Our next subject today, our next starter, is our sourdough starter. Now, sourdough starter is fussy. Trust me, I have killed like 3 of these. We're going to throw this together quickly. With your sourdough starter, you want a blend of flour, regular flour, and wheat flour, or you can use a rye flour. What we're going to do is we're going to add a cup of flour, cup of our blend, okay? And I make this up like this so I can do the feeding throughout the week while this is growing and doing its business, and I don't have to stop and mix it. So I mix it ahead. You can do up to an entire week full if you want, but I do it, like every 3 days I mix up a new batch. Oh, there we go. There is our combo. We'll throw that in here. Da, 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 da. And we're going to do 1 cup of water today. And make sure that your jar is really clean. This one I did sterilize because I've been frustrated with my sourdough. And then we're just going to mix it up. We're going to cover it up. And we're going to let it live and learn to live together. Pretty simple. Okay. The nice thing is if you have a friend that does a lot of sourdough, it's really nice if you can get them to give you a little bit of sourdough starter, because it gives you a healthier start and it gets you off and running. So you can just start yourself. Don't get frustrated. You may have to restart. You may have to try a few times. And the cool thing about having your own sourdough starter is now, okay? So we fermented, we water bath canned, we're going to dehydrate, and you're going to have bread as well. So you'll have all of these options. And what you're going to do is you're going to cover this with another tea cloth and let this live. What I don't do is when I'm fermenting is I don't put my things real close together. I space them out. I don't want them on top of each other because I don't want them to share any microbes that they may be having, because it's actually a fermenting process. So they each have their own individual microbes. So I don't want it shared into my sourdough. So I keep them spaced, keep them in a darker place. And with the sourdough, you want to feed that every day as well. So the first week is going to be a little bit challenging. Once you get a good bubbly starter, then you're going to start to remove your discard. You're going to take some discard out, and then you're going to add some flour in. The cool thing about this discard is people are making all kinds of crazy things. If you watch our Facebook page on Preservation Pantry, there's recipes there for scones, cookies with discard, and every other thing, all kinds of things. And you're going to have a great time once you get into this. Continue feeding it daily for the first 2 weeks, and then you can refrigerate it and only feed it once a week. So it's a balance. And I'm going to put this recipe right on there because you should really print it out and keep it. To bring this to close, throughout our time at Preservation Pantry, we will be incorporating zero waste kitchen bowls. We'll have guest speakers, experts will try to have Q&A time so that you can call in or message us and get an answer with whatever you're struggling with. I'm assuming it's probably going to be sourdough starter because that's the most challenging. So whether we're here in the kitchen, in the garden, at the farmer's market, we hope to encourage you to feed your body and your soul with healthy options. So please follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We have an Instagram page and YouTube, please. And make sure you like and share and let your friends know that there's a healthier way to feed your family and keep yourself, your gut health, really healthy so that you have a nice, healthy aging process. That's what I found. Until our next time at Preservation Pantry, feed your family from seed to soul, making sure that you're nourishing them and throughout their life. Be blessed, and we'll see you back here